Hello, this is the Superhero Hub up for review. I'm Sam,
I'm at
and today, what are we going to be reviewing?
Legends of Tomorrow,
DC's Legends of Tomorrow, Season 2. What's the episode called?
Legion of Doom.
The Legion of Doom. Now,
Yep.
this, in my opinion, was a great episode, and I'll tell you why. Because it's very rare that it's kind of from the perspective of the episode. If you look at it, it was kind of from literally the Legion of Doom's perspective. You know what I mean? It focused. They were like the. Do you know how normally like in the Flash or Arrow, they're like the main characters and that. It was like Eobard Thawne, Malcolm Merlin and Damien Dark were like the main people in this episode, which I think it was. I think that was pretty decent. And the thing is, normally if you try something um, different like that, it kind of is kind of just like a throwaway episode. You know what I mean from their perspective. But the good thing about this one was that they did that, and it still kind of moved the story along. That's what I mean. It was still like a really good episode. You had things going on. It moved the plot. People's intentions were revealed. What do you think about that statement I just made?
I agree. Yeah, I thought it was a nice change to the formula. I think it answers some questions I had.
And those were.
Well, mainly, why are Malcolm Merlin and Damien Dark taking orders from Eobard Thawne, and how long would that go on?
Well,
And
well, I mean, if you look to that anyway, I mean, there's a speedster. I mean, even if you're like a bad guy like them, their powers are like limited. If you're coming up against someone who can move faster than you can blink, then you're gonna be like, even if you're of that persuasion, you're gonna be more likely to kind of toe the line, aren't you? I mean, fair enough. The problem is if Eobard Thawne was strong for all the time, he wasn't doing this like offhand stuff like disappearing and having that thing beeping off, because that's what kind of cast doubt on him. You know what I mean? They started to think, well, actually, you know what? If he wanted to kill us, I mean, I'm pretty sure he could like replace us. I mean, that's their own ego thinking maybe he can't replace us, but really, someone like him could just replace them with any kinds of villains. You know what I mean? So I think internally they were kind of asking themselves like, if he wanted to get rid of us, he could just do it like that. So I think they're thinking
right,
something's going on here that it is not talking about, that makes me think, well, makes them think that, you want to know what, maybe is not as powerful as he appears to be.
right, but in the long term, there's no way they stand around and be his little lackeys, And they answered that in this episode, so yeah, I thought it was a good step.
I
I
think it.
thought,
Carry on.
go on.
Now you carry on.
I think Eobard Thawne needed some fleshing out because again, I had questions. I was wondering what exactly is his goal. I'm still kind of wondering that,
See, I
but
think they're kind of mixing up
yeah,
all the universe and that, and I think that's how, because you got Eddie Thawne coming back to the Flash. So is Eobard going to do something down the line with the Spear of Destiny that's going to bring Eddie Thawne back to life, so he becomes a permanent character? Because as I said in like this episode, he's kind of in flux. You know what I mean? Is kind of in the process of being erased off the timeline. So he wants a Spear of Destiny to change reality to the fact that Eddie Thawne never shot himself, or maybe like he can change like their kind of uh, change the fact that everyone knows that they're related. So if he was a problem, Eddie would just shoot himself again. So change the reality, bring him back, and then is like a fixed point in time again, as opposed to in time purgatory, if you will. So yeah.
sure, yeah. I think so. I think the team, the team dynamic of the actual legends themselves, I think, is the best it's ever been. I think they've brought some of that to the villains. They called out a lot of, I think, pretty fairly obvious truths about the characters. The fact that Malcolm Merlin is basically a screw up. for as badass as he is, he keeps on failing every damn time and he's lost his hand. They called out the same thing about Damien Dark, as badass as he apparently was. He wasn't really, he got killed. And that's that. And they called that out. They called out the fact that Eobard Thawne had also affected a failure. He whines about his life and runs back to try and fix it. He's fairly similar to Barry, except, he will take the murderer step. And so they called that all out about the characters. They called out a lot about the legends themselves. I think it's probably in terms of character interaction, the cleverest in terms of writing of all the shows.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I definitely like the kind of infighting. I thought if I was going to criticise anything, like when Malcolm Merlyn and Damien Dark are at each other's throats and they need like Rip Hunter or the kind of lesser Rip Hunter to tell them that you want to know what maybe Eobard Thawne's playing them. You know what I mean? I don't think I think if you look at it, because they're meant to be kind of smart guys, but they're kind of coming off a bit dumb. So whether they're just like, I think where they are in their lives now, whether they're like not as sharp and like focused as maybe like motivated, even though it's like pretty strong motivation to change your fate, but with the kind of and ahhing between them, or between all of them, maybe that's like made them a little less sharp. But I mean, apart from that, I mean that was really solid, and I think it was a lot about them.
Yeah, you say that it was pretty cool once they'd tricked Eobard and they trapped him.
Yeah, that was kind of lucky. That was.
As soon as he switched and gave in to them, they were very cool under pressure of their plan.
Yeah.
With trapping Zoom.
I prefer it like that anyway. I prefer like all of them kind of as equals in that, because it is kind of, it was good just to get it out the way. Them like, a moment where it's like, look, something's got to give. This has been on our minds. This guy's like giving us orders. We're the guys who give the orders. You know what I mean? Damien Dark was the leader of Hive. Malcolm Merlyn's like was the leader of the League of Assassins, and like just super villains in general. They're accustomed to a certain kind of, we're in charge. What we say go. Goes, go and get it done, as opposed to being on the flip side of that. So I think it's kind of established them now that they are partners, equals. They're all on the same footing, and now they're going to be a bit more, less messing about between each other, and they're going to be like, look, we got to go get the staff. No more messing about now. No more sidetracking. The only thing that's going to stop them is obviously the Legends intervention. So now, in terms of from here to the end goal, it's going to be quite linear and not much deviation, which is good, you know what I mean, because you don't want to have like a million kind of pointless subplots and stuff, or like throwaway scenes where you just like, episodes could be fine if they didn't have them in that. So I mean, in terms of like where it is now, it's probably the episode was probably the most integral episode so far, because I mean it's cleared up, is kind of polished off what's going to happen now, so it's just a matter of who's going to get to this spear first and what's going to happen as a result. So I mean, I figure
it's far more feasible to see the Legion as a team now as well.
Yeah.
I was sitting there thinking this surely has to implode. How could the three of them coexist? But they've explained that now rationally why they would. They've explained why Eobard Thawne wouldn't just kill them. Well, second thought, which I figured he would anyway, so we have to see how Captain Cold will affect that, but for now...
Yeah, I think he's a team player anyway. Captain Cold's kind of like, he's partnered with Rory. I think he knows how to work as part of a team. And he's a smart guy, he's a calculated guy. He's going to look at the situation and is going to be like, you want to know what? We might as well like stick together. Maybe after it's done, then there might be a bit of like he might betray him or whatever, do what he needs to do, but that'll be when it's done, as opposed to like scheming behind their backs leading up to it. So while watching it, I had the feeling like this could be like it's kind of serve as a, but if they're like spin that off like a Legion of Doom TV show that like serve as like a backdoor pilot. I was watching it, I was thinking, you want to know what, this kind of works now. I could watch a series with these guys going about their business. I thought it was a you
Okay.
disagree?
Yeah, I'm not too into it. I'd rather keep the focus on the heroes. I don't, I wasn't a big fan of Suicide Squad, and I think it would be something akin to that. There's only so far you can go with the show. Maybe I might be interested in it as a limited series. While everything else is on hiatus over the summer. If you want to do that as like an 8-week show, I'll buy into that.
Yeah,
But in terms of the full 22 episode series, like the rest of them, no.
yeah, but like Legends of Tomorrow is only like 12 episodes long, so I mean
Yeah,
that
maybe.
serves. I mean it moves pretty quickly as well. I think if you kind of look at it, like you get the kind of filler episodes for the other um, series, other series and stuff like that. You get a lot of filler episodes because it's like they have got to drag it out for like 23 episodes, whereas kind of Legends of Tomorrow, it moves quickly, concisely, wraps everything up in like and whether that's a result of them having 12, just the 12 episodes, because I mean if they had any more you'd get the kind of boring kind of filler episodes that go nowhere. That's why Legends works better, I think. It's not too
Right.
overcrowded. Yeah, even
Well,
with you gotta look at it like generally, like when they kind of started together, they've kind of got like the most ensemble cast at one time doing different things. So I mean, to kind of pull that all together and not be like distracted and have like kind of who's doing this, who's doing that, pull it all together and in 12 episodes is like pretty good. And so I think it's like a pretty solid show in general.
so we've dealt with the Legion. What about the Legends themselves? They'll say probably my my biggest complaint about this episode, and it was made in general. I could let this kind of thing go, but it was exasperated and made worse by something that happened in the episode, which I'll get to.
Yeah.
The Legends themselves spend the bulk of this episode trying to figure out who is the speedster, right?
Yeah.
Who is the guy running around with the Legion of Doom?
Yeah, because while I was watching it, I was like, "What? They still don't know who it is." And then I was thinking, like, the only person who'd actually like recognise or know who it was would be Martin Stein. So to be honest, I was waiting for him to kind of pipe up. I think like
One other person above all else, and his little team, Barry Allen. Why are they not asking the Flash? Just
um,
ask Liz.
I think they're kind of lax with their travel. You know what I mean? The Legion of
Right,
Doom are travelling like every 5 minutes, but them they kind of
right. This is where my biggest gripe. I could let that excuse go. This is where my biggest gripe goes in. What else happens in this episode? Martin Stein goes to visit his daughter in Central City.
Yeah, I think. See, now you mention that, like as I was gonna say before you kind of cut me off when I said the only person who'd actually like recognise it being from the Flash universe at that time, the new Firestorm, not so much, but would be Martin Stein, but he didn't get to it. He didn't actually come in on that and get involved with all the other legends because he was too busy messing about trying to sort out with his daughter. So I think like they threw his daughter in there to kind of like, because if they clocked too early, if it like came out too early that it was Eobard Thawne, I don't think it would have served the plot really. They would have been like stuck like scratching their heads for the rest of the episode. So I think like they throw the daughter in so they can tie up that end, like make her realise she's a time aberration, and then have her like go away, and then like that frees him up to come and be like, oh, just so happens walking on this conversation is Eobard Thawne. You know what I mean?
The legends are trying. They know that it's a speedster. They're fairly certain it's someone Barry may have been involved with at some point in the past. They go to Central City.
Yeah,
You have to drop in and ask him.
yeah. I literally
Or
think
don't go.
like the daughter was thrown in there to kind of like distract him from finding it out. You know what I mean?
Right, but
I
right,
think
not
that was
him.
like it was
Him's
distractionary measured.
But him's fine. But the rest of the team could go to Barry.
Yeah, I don't think that's what the writers wanted them to do. That's why they
No,
left it.
but that's what I mean. It's
Yeah,
poor writing.
yeah, it
It's
was
the only
kind of
complaint I
purpose.
have. But it's fine.
Right,
If
so
you're gonna go visit the daughter, just don't have her be in Central City. That just makes no sense in an episode where you're doing this storyline. But that's the only gripe I have.
right, so I mean that.
So speaking of the daughter, I mean, that was probably the B story of the episode, right? The main bulk of what the show is focused on, the Legion.
Yeah.
What did you think of it?
I think it was literally just put in there to like, you know, as I just said, put in there to kind of play for time until Martin Stein comes in near the end of the episode, drops the bomb, and then disappears. So, I mean, if we
I
move,
think it was filler, but it's also something they had to wrap up at some point, right?
yeah,
They brought it in earlier, and they needed to. Okay, at some point we have to fix this and address it.
yeah,
They
because
had
I
a
think
gap in the episode. Boom.
the only reason she was brought in as a kind of consequence of like time aberrations, because you got all these other things going on. I think she was brought in as a time aberration to make it kind of closer to home, like affecting one of the actual members of the team instead of them going off and like stopping one. So I think apart from that, she's kind of pointless. There's no really point for her being in the show.
Is she gonna hook up with Ray Palmer when they hinted at that?
Yeah, I think, but like, is that going to be like too many cooks spoiling the broth? It's like she's pointless.
I don't know. You know, at this point they got to figure out, because Ray's love life has always been a part of his character.
Yeah,
It was on Arrow. It was in the first season of the show. But it's kind of non-existent this year. So
yeah, it's always sniffing around someone. So I mean, yeah, but I wouldn't really care if she like popped up again. She's a pretty like, it's like, what's she gonna do? She's just gonna come
no, she's
in.
not. She's not going to be on the ship, is she?
Yeah, because like Martin Stein, and if not him, then Ray Palmer could pretty much do her job. So there's no point of her going in there just to be like, oh, I agree, or her coming up with some like fantastic thing that they haven't thought of, even though I'm pretty sure they're way smarter than her. So I mean,
It's the thing
literally,
with these kind of shows, isn't it? It's the same, with Star Trek and whatnot. Is because they're constantly traveling to different places. You can't. There's not really a space for recurring characters because they're not. It's very rare they'll be in the same place at the same time. So she's probably not going to be in the show that often.
yeah, the way they kind of use her for this episode is kind of like a consultant, and I mean that's all she'd actually be. Nothing more. So if we move to kind of the end of the episode, now they've got Rip Hunter's memories, which is good, I guess, because I want him to be like back to his old ways. I mean, I don't mind him being a bit of a moron and that, but it was only for like a couple of episodes. It's not like they dragged it out for forever. So they're gonna put his memories back, but alter him. And then at the end of the episode, you had him going into George Washington's camp and killing him, shooting him, apparently. Whether they do like, oh, you didn't actually see him get shot, so it turns out he just shot the table or something like that. So now they've sent him back to what? Literally rewrite America. Because if you kill George Washington, that means like America's not really founded. I figure they'll fall apart and then go back to England, and then America would just be like non-existent, which is kind of weird. Why they'd send him back to do that? I mean, because it pretty much wipe out the whole timeline. really. So I think that's interesting where they're going to go with that. I mean, it'd have to get fixed. So it'd just be like a one episode thing where they're going to clash. But I mean, it's pretty interesting they did that because that's a big thing to do. It's one thing to change like one character or put one character in power, but the fact it's like that'd wipe out pretty much everything. There'd be no nothing. I mean, apart from Rip Hunter, I think he'd be fine because he was like in England, but everyone else, timeline erased. So let's get on to ratings. Out of 10, how would you give the episode? What would you give the episode?
And I,
You give it an A. I'd
Yeah.
probably I'd give it like a high 8. You know what I mean? Maybe I'd probably see it was a good episode. I'd give it like a solid 9. Because it was a good
yeah,
episode. It was different as well. It was real different. They haven't really like not much shows really do that to put it from like their perspective. It was good. There wasn't really any bad moments. So that what were you laughing at?
I'll give it. I'll give it a high 8, a 9.
Yeah, that's a high 8. That's one
Uh,
above. So yeah, yeah. Because I was thinking 8.8, and then I was thinking 9.2, and then I was thinking, well. I like the way they kind of did it. Yeah, there were a bit of boring bits. So I mean, I give it 9. I give it a 9.2. So, like, share, subscribe. We'll see you in the next episode. I'm Sam.
I'm not.
Bye bye.